Welcome to Fixation Station, the podcast where we talk to people about their fixations. Sorry, there's a cat on the screen. Today's guest is Sheria Mattis, and she's going to be talking to us about her fixation on K-pop. Hi, Sheria. How are you?
Hey, Arielle. How you doing? I'm all right.
Good. And Sheria is a very funny comedian from New York City, and she is obsessed with K-pop.
Yes, I'm a recovering K-pop stan. I'm it is a cult. It is a cult. So it takes a long time to get out of it, clearly.
Yeah. So how did you discover K-pop?
Honestly, I think I discovered K-pop the same way most people discovered K-pop. I was depressed. I was really depressed. Well, so actually, I had a friend in high school, a high school friend who was like obsessed, who started getting really obsessed with like Super Junior and DBSK and all those like K-pop groups, and I was like, and I always made fun of him. I was like, you know, like I was like, I was like, this is a like next level of gay that I'm not. I don't participate in. And he was like, he kept trying to get me into them, and then he showed me this group 2PM. And I was hooked. I was like, they were just so cute and they were funny because they all have like variety shows too. So it was like everything. It was like funny variety shows and really, really like earworm, harkening back to like the like 90s R&B of that I like grew up on. That like this just doesn't get made anymore, you know what I mean? Yeah. And they were so cute and they gave you choreo, and I was like, oh wait. So then I just like got really depressed, and I just was like in my apartment, and I just went down a rabbit hole of watching every episode of this variety show they used to have called Wild Bunny. And then when you watch those variety shows, they reference other K-pop groups, and then I started looking at those other K-pop groups, and within like a month, I was completely obsessed. Like I was completely obsessed with K-pop. It happened like that. And my whole life was like crumbling around me. I had this shitty job. My whole life was just like a shit show. And I just kind of was like, you know what? I'm going to dive right into this instead of dealing with my life. And it was great. It was great.
So is 2PM still your favorite K-pop group? No,
I've moved on. Although they still were like my favorite for many, many years. Like I've seen them in concert 5 times.
Okay.
5 times. I've seen them twice in America and 2 times in Korea and once in Japan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm so upset. And that doesn't even count the times that I've seen them, because when I was in Korea, I went to go see them because they have these like music programs, like all the K-pop groups do their latest songs. I don't know why we don't have that in America. It's so dumb. But anyway, these music programs, and I went to go see them at Ikigayo, and I went to go see them at Music Bank, and I talked to Nikun and everything. But, you know, that was years ago. And then I kind of fell out of K-pop. And then this group, G-Friend, Yoja Chingu, came out. And then I became completely obsessed with them. And especially over the pandemic, I just kind of like really got into G-Friend. And then, of course, like 2 days before I was supposed to have a surgery, they broke up. Like really suddenly. So that was like my last truly favorite, like obsessive K-pop group is G-Friend. You know what I mean? My girls. I miss them.
Because you lived in Asia, right? You lived in Thailand, or?
I lived mostly in Vietnam, but I was in Thailand and Vietnam and like hopping back and forth. And for like 4.5 years. Yeah.
That's still, I want to live in Vietnam. Like,
it was great. It was great. They don't even have COVID over there now. They're fucking chilling. They're good. Yeah. They got rid of shit immediately. They were like, what? Wash your hands, wear a mask, and stay in your fucking house for like 2 weeks? Great. We got it. We're done. And they figured it out. It was amazing. Great food, and they know how to follow directions. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I'm assuming that K-pop was not the only reason why you were living in Asia, but was that
not even a little bit. No. I did not go to Asia for K-pop. I went to Asia, although I did enjoy some K-pop while I was in Asia, because I had like a full-on mental breakdown and quit my job and went to go to this island to do meditation and yoga and stuff for
Mhm.
like 2 months. And while I was there, so I moved in with my mom. I left my cat I leased my apartment for like the last month.
Mhm.
And I went to Asia. And the plan was, because I had no job, to
Mhm.
spend money in Asia, go back to my mom's place and
Mhm.
live with my mom until I like could sort my life out again.
Mhm.
And while I was in Asia, like 3 weeks after I was in Asia, she got married to some guy I didn't know and moved him and his adult son into the place and moved all my shit into the basement, was like, you could sleep in the living room. And so I just kind of ended up staying there for 4.5 years. I was like, let me just figure this shit out. I ended up staying there for 4.5 years. But while there, I did enjoy some K-pop. I did enjoy some K-pop while
That story is amazing. I mean, that like I'm sure it was very stressful, but it is.
No, for sure. And it saved my life, for sure. I don't think I
Okay.
would have been happy if I had gone with my original plan. And
Yeah.
while I was there, that's how I decided to do comedy, because I did accent on the beach and I was like, I should do comedy. And so that's like, it was definitely good for me in the long run, but I almost died quite a few times. And so like, I'm really bad at organizing and scheduling and traveling, and I hadn't done it before like that. So
Right.
like I was really bad. Like I was literally saved by strangers multiple times. Like almost eaten by dogs. I really, truly was not, prepared for what I signed up for.
Yeah. But you did.
I did survive eventually.
You did survive, and you saw some K-pop.
That's right. I survived to see some K-pop.
Okay. So what are 2 p.m. stands? Like, is there like an army version of 2 p.m. or?
Yes, there is. Army. So like every K-pop group has a fan name, right?
Okay.
Every single one has a fan name. So BTS is the army,
Mm-hmm.
and BTS is the army because of their name. It always has to pull from the name, right?
Okay. I know I could have looked this up, but how does BTS relate to army?
So BTS means Bangtan which means bulletproof Boy Scouts. I know. So, and their whole thing is that we're bulletproof. And so the army are the fan base. They protect them from the bullets, right? That's 2 p.m. Their group is called Hottest or Hottest, if you're Korean and pronounce it like that.
Yeah.
And so, because allegedly 2 p.m. is the hottest time of the day. I don't know if that's true, but that is what they did allege. They alleged that 2 p.m. was the hottest time of the day. And so their fans are called Hottest. And G-Friend, their name is Yoja Chingu, which means girlfriend. And their fan names are Buddy, because they're the buddy.
Okay.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You shouldn't. I just filled your brain with fucking nonsense.
It is interesting to me because I have been thinking a lot. This is like a slight tangent, but like I think sometimes I've been like, there's been a lot of drama around like particular YouTubers, not K-pop related YouTubers. And one thing that I find, like, I'm not like leaving their names out because I'm like afraid to say something. I'm leaving their names out because I literally have forgotten their names. Like, I don't know who they are. But people who follow them, okay, 20 years ago, if people were famous, like everybody knew who they were. And that's like not how fame works anymore. And people are still acting like it does. But like K-pop is still very much the monoculture model, right? Like there are people behind the scenes creating groups, right? And there are like rules. Do they like all live? Am I making that up? But like,
no, you're not making that up. You're not making that up at all. They do all there. It's that's also why it's a cult, because even the members. First of all, let's just get one thing straight. Every K-pop star is an exploited teenager. Every single one of them is extreme. That's why I kind of left K-pop, is because there was like, I'm about to bring you down right now.
Hey, this is Arielle from the future. sorry to interrupt, but I wanted to give a little content warning here. We are going to be talking about both suicide and eating disorders, and I've included some resources for help for both of those things in the show notes. Now back to the program.
There were a spate of suicides, and yeah, and I had to wake up and be like, girl, because it's exploitative. Like Shiny was one of my favorite groups. Still are one of my favorite groups of all time K-pop. They're one of the best groups to ever come out of K-pop. They were just teenagers that were kidnapped by SM. And basically, like, they were starved. They weren't allowed to eat after like 9 p.m. They were all like really young. Like Taemin was 14 when the group debuted.
Wow.
And yeah, they had their whole lives completely controlled. They live together, they eat together, they're not allowed to date, they're not allowed to do a lot of things, and they work. They rehearse, and they take them from the time that they're like very, very young. And that is from SM, that's based on like, because even Boa, another huge superstar that I love, she debuted at 12 years old. So she had been training from the time that she was like 9, 10. And Shiny, they had been training from the time they were 13. And with Taemin, he'd been training since the time he was like 10. And so they were babies, and they were taken from their parents, and they move into a dorm, and every day they are trained, and they have their diets controlled, and they have to exercise, and they can't speak to people, and they can't date, and they can't communicate. Like all their communications are controlled. It's a lot. And what you get out of that is impeccable fucking music and great choreography.
Right.
But also their mental health completely suffers.
Yeah,
and they either get really depressed and they start doing things, or like my favorite member of Shiny, Jonghyun, he killed himself. And it was and he wasn't the only one. Like FX, also one of the great groups of K-pop, also under SM. Sully, who was like the star of the group, she debuted when she was 15. She also killed herself. And Guara, from one of the best girl groups of all fucking time. I will fucking die on this hill. Kara was one of the greatest groups of all time. They had bops. They went through member changes and still had bops. Anyway, Guhara also killed herself. And it happened like bop. And that threw me out of K-pop. I was so depressed. It's still, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and so like, yes, sorry. They all live together. They all have everything controlled. They have their whole image controlled. They sign contracts that say if they don't get to choose if they want to have plastic surgery or not. Like the company decides if they should get plastic surgery. And I think some things started to change after the 3 deaths back to back, but not much.
Right.
Not much. It's extremely exploitative. But bops, they make bops, bitch.
I mean, I it sort of sounds very similar to like Judy like the Wizard of Oz, right? Like that movie is perfect. Yes. And they were literally like drugging a child.
Yes. And that the whole studio system is also how K-pop operates. The studio system of like, because also you just hit on something. I love classic film. That's another one of my obsessions. Okay. But like, and the studio system was extremely exploitative. They owned your contract. They owned you. You were only allowed to do what they told you to do. And I think K-pop saw that and was like, we'll bring that right over here.
Like we can exploit teenagers even better than old school Hollywood.
Yes.
Yeah.
And especially because like at the time, I think now it's changing because of Korea's like economic whatever growth or whatever. I think it's somewhat changing because like K-pop stars, a lot of them used to just be poor kids. So basically your family would be like, if you become a star, we get, you know what I mean? But if you don't become a star, all that room and board and all that food and all that training, you now owe the company money.
That's fucking Scientology.
It's exactly. They saw Scientology. They're like, we can make this work. we can make this work. We can make this better.
Yes.
They did. So like BTS is a huge like whatever. Like so they got plenty money, right? But
Right.
most of these groups, and even BTS when they first started out, when you first debut, you don't make any money.
Right.
You owe the company money. So you're just kind of everything you make, you're just paying right back to the company until you pay off the fees from your training and your blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I mean, that is very cult-like. Also, like student loans.
Yes. Yes. Imagine you're 13 with student loans, which are thousands of dollars in debt.
And also, like, not that's not defending student loans here, but like college does, like, the chances of if you don't become a superstar, those skills are like much less transferable than like.
Yes, for sure,
you
for
know.
sure. Although it depends. Like you know, like I studied comparative lit. So I think singing and dancing would have been really, really good. Way more marketable skill.
I mean,
I bet you they teach you to moonwalk over there. Like, yeah. But that's also part of it. Like, and sometimes these people they debut and they kind of hit it big, and then they don't, and then they have to go back to the real world, and then sometimes they work in a fucking supermarket for a little bit, and then people are like, hey, weren't you in? You know what I mean? That's so much. It's so much.
Yeah, that's wild. Although that does occasionally happen. An actor from the Cosby Show.
Yes, Elwin. He was from the Cosby Show. He was working at Home Depot, Trader Joe's. Which like Trader Joe's gives you healthcare. So
yeah,
he was doing better than most Americans. So.
Yeah. I mean, I do also think there is like this assumption that there's like a direct relationship between fame and money, right? People think like, I know who you are, you must have a lot of money. And that's not like, obviously they're related, like, but it's not like a one-to-one. And
that's right. It's not, they can be related, but I just don't, I like people who are like, I want to be famous. It's like, why? Like, why? That shit sounds horrible and traumatic.
Right.
Rich is nice. Rich is good. Famous sounds terrible. Like I don't understand. Yeah, but
if anybody is listening to this and wants to make me famous, I will do it. I will sacrifice myself. But I would prefer to be rich. If you can make me rich, make me rich.
Famous sounds famous. There's a reason why famous people go crazy. It's not like, there's a reason for it. And it's because like I can't imagine every time I leave my house, a bunch of people are like, oh my God. I'm sure there's like people who are sane and well and who can get through that kind of stuff.
But they do exist.
Yeah, I don't know. And K-pop fame is different because they, you know, like when you're famous in America, like you can kind of get away with shit. You kind of do stuff. I mean, you can get away with shit in Korea too, but it depends on what you're getting away with. But like they excoriate these kids. Like if they're on stage and they have a little bit of a pooch on their belly, like, you know, they got to wear these tight ass fucking things and they got to sing and they got to dance. And so sometimes you'll see a little bit of a skin pooch between, you know, the midriff and the thing. These fucking people will be like, she's not managing herself. She's fat. She's, what's she doing? Why is she not taking care of herself? And then boom, eating disorder. Yeah. Sully, who killed herself, a lot of the things the Korean public, they'll deny it now. But they fucking hated her. I remember the comments that they used to leave on her fucking social media. They used to leave on every time she did a show. Because she was kind of like a freer spirit, right? Like she didn't wear a bra sometimes. And you would think she killed a fucking puppy. You would think she was strangling a puppy because in one social media post, she clearly wasn't wearing a bra. Like they were like, you fucking dumb slut, why did you fucking kill yourself? And then she did. And so, and they were like, oops, oopsie, you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't handle that. The judgment that they get. I would rather be famous in America than famous in Korea.
Yeah.
That shit is different. It's different.
I think I have but I have some very good friends who are Korean. And like, I think their like relationship to like body stuff is very like.
Are they girls?
Yeah. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like, and it's not always true, but like, for example, like, then this is still like the beauty standard in America or whatever. But like if you talk, okay, I'm just like, this might not make the podcast, but I'll say it. But like, you know, like if an American like has an eating disorder, they have some sort of understanding that like that is a bad thing to have.
Yes.
But if you talk to like a Korean who exhibits the same behavior, they're just like, thinness is good. This makes me thinner. Why would
Yes. And that is completely correlated to the media.
Right.
How the media, because a lot of, especially the girl groups, they're like, we eat one ball of rice every day, and then at night we have one carrot. And everyone's like, oh, she's really managing herself. Good for her. And it's like, no, she's unwell. Like, and you can tell some of these girls have huge eating disorders, and then they just praise them. They're like, oh, look at her little ant waist. Look at how much weight she's lost. And it's like, yeah, she's lost an unhealthy amount of weight in an unhealthy amount of time. Their relationship to beauty standards is like totally different. It's because of capitalism. Like they were kind of thrust into capitalism at hyperspeed. And so all of the problems that we have, they have them faster and more efficiently. You know what I mean? It's like the trains. They said, oh, that's how y'all run the trains? We're going to run them even better. And they do. Those trains come on time, and they're clean, and they're great. And that's great for trains. Not so good for humans. Not so good for people, you know?
Yeah.
And their beauty standards are totally very rigid, very different, very rigid. Like for facial beauty standards, like when I was like me and my friends would be out. This is in Korea or America, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, that girl's so beautiful. She's so pretty." And they'd be like, "No, she's not." I'd be like, "What? What are you talking about? She's gorgeous." And they're like, "No, her face is too wide, and her chin needs to be like it needs to be like an egg shape, and her nose has to be straight, and like her eyes have to be a certain kind of double eyelid, and if it's single eyelid, it has to be a certain kind of way." And because they've created like a mathematical formula for beauty in Korea. And now I think as time goes on, they're really getting away from that, and they're trying really hard to like, they've realized how unhealthy that has been, but it's slow going.
Yeah,
it's still very slow going.
It's hard. I mean, this is another example of this. I have a lot of Korean friends who will they will make fun of Americans for thinking that Lucy Liu is beautiful.
Yes.
They'll be
they don't think Lucy Liu is beautiful. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, I don't know, she's a beautiful woman.
I know. Same with like Sandra Oh. Sandra Oh is a beauty icon in America, and in Korea they're like, what? Like her face is too big.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times when because a lot of times movie stars in America will have a striking face, and I feel like a lot of Asian people will be like, but she looks weird, and it's like, it's beautiful.
That's the thing. Like, we want a face that looks unique and still hot. Like, we still have our rigid beauty standards. You can't just roll up in here looking your own kind of beauty. You have to look our kind of beautiful. But our kind of beautiful is a bit more varied than theirs is, because that's how they make their money. I'm sorry. If they don't impose those beauty standards on Korean women will walk around thinking they're beautiful. And then what if they don't buy all the Korean beauty products or pay for plastic surgery? Then that'll be a disaster for their economy. So they have to impose these extremely rigid beauty standards on them. Otherwise,
Yeah, and I want to be very clear. I do not think Americans have a healthy relationship with their body or beauty. I'm not saying that. It's just, it's less mathematical.
There you go. It's less mathematical, but
Right.
we will still delineate and we
Yeah.
will still tear you down.
Yeah.
If you go away from our very rigid beauty standards, it's just,
And we will make money off
we
of
have
it.
our limits. We're like, okay, but Sandra Oh is hot. Like, let's not be ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. We've talked a lot about the culture and stuff, like less about the music, which is it's been great. I think this has been super interesting. But what do you think it is about the music that drew you? It's just so good, or
it's so good. It's you know what it is? They took, because like in America, like we are not, and I don't care who comes after me. We don't make R&B anymore. We don't make R&B anymore. We don't. Our R&B singers are fucking Chris Brown and Trey Songz, rapists. So, so like they write songs about, like, back in my mom's day and the music that I grew up listening to, it was about love. It was about, you know what I mean? And it was like smooth sounds that were like taken from gospel and taken from, you know what I mean? And we had like this specific R&B sound. And it was huge. It was big, Boys to Men, all that shit. And Koreans grew up on that. And they took those influences. They basically took exactly what it was, created a formula for it, and said, and we're gonna have cute boys dancing to it, cute girls dancing to it. And Americans just stopped doing that. We stopped doing that. We don't have choreography anymore. We don't have like love songs and R&B. All our R&B songs are like, you dumb bitch, take your panties, take them off, let me fuck you, and then don't call me later. And it's like, what? What happened? Everybody's talking about Silk Sonic, because Silk Sonic, oh my God, they bringing it back. This bitch got me paying rent. Like, what? This is R&B? Like, what? Korea actually does R&B. Korea actually does, like, they straight up just sample the whole beat and the sound from old R&B songs and sing over it and give it soul and it's cultural appropriation.
right.
But thanks. I appreciate it. I really appropriate our shit, because we ain't doing it.
Right.
And like, I'm like in the groups like Yoja Chingu, and the groups like Girls' Generation, even like TXT has a little bit of it. It's like this fun, happy, poppy with R&B elements sound, right? It's this cute, happy, and you cannot be depressed while you're looking at this. Like, it literally cures depression. Like, it's just fun, happy pop, and you sing it and you dance to it, and it like, I don't give it, the whole world is crumbling, but I'm like, like, I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck. And it's pure joy. And that, we don't have that. We've never had that in America. We don't have it, and we never had it, and we never will. And that is also what I'm really, really into. I'm really like, the music is just great. The sounds are great. The choreo is great. The styling is meh. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's a miss. And like, and as much as these like members are being exploited, most of the time I sobbed when G-Friend broke up. Like, you could not, and nobody understands that kind of connection you have to a K-pop group. You get to know these members, you get to know their life story, and like, you form an emotional connection with them. American celebrities, I have no emotional connection to these motherfuckers. Like, I don't give a shit what happens to them anymore. It's just a totally different thing that we're not doing over here. We're just not doing it.
Yeah, and I think part of that is capitalism. I think like the type of music that they make in K-pop, it costs more money to make that. Like,
not if you're not paying your artists. It doesn't cost that much fucking money. Not if you ain't paying them.
One of the things people are really like skimping on, like, making. I feel like music is like much smaller in America than it used to be, if that makes sense. Like,
yes,
there's like fewer and fewer like instrumentations, and nobody wants to hire like actual session musicians anymore, and they are doing that in K-pop, right? the sound is big. It's huge.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Like G-Friend, all their concerts have a full band behind them. They are singing with a live band at all their concerts. It's incredible. You're not gonna find that shit. You're not gonna find that shit in America unless it's like a Beyonce concert.
Right.
Like, really. Yeah, we don't want to put the production value in. We don't want to train people. We don't want to hire a choreographer. We're just not willing to put that money in, even though they could make, because you can make money you could just put some ashy motherfucker on stage and they sing about nothing and they'll make a whole bunch of money. So why bother? Why bother putting effort in, you know?
Yeah. Again, that's what, like, K-pop does have this really, like, international, like, it's not just like they have huge cultural cachet, like, everywhere in a way that
everywhere. When I was in Vietnam, my K-pop background finally came in handy because my kids loved K-pop. And the thing that got them interested in the lessons, like, I would plan my lessons around K-pop. I would buy a bunch of K-pop stickers and be like, hey, you little bastards, listen to me. And if you listen and do good, I'll give you a bunch of fucking stickers with these K-pop stars on them. And they were like, oh, okay, finally an incentive, you know what I mean? It really has a massive reach.
So I think, I don't know what my original point was, but is very exciting to see.
Also, I'm just going to say this. Also, so much of media, Western media in particular, is overwhelmingly white. Like, it is entirely. I watch so many shows with an all-white cast. I really think I woke up in segregation again. Like, there's so much whiteness. You know what I mean? The only people making R&B and hip-hop are white. Like, let's just be real. Like, those are the big stars of R&B and hip-hop. They're white people. And sometimes you get sick of looking at white people. No shade. I love looking at your face. But sometimes...
I got it. Me too.
You get sick of staring at fucking white people all day. So, like, I think a lot of, especially there's so many Black K-pop fans and Hispanic K-pop fans, like, they're just looking for they just want to rest their eyes for a minute. It's the only media that is not all white. I'm just gonna say that, you know what I mean? Like,
that's definitely part of it. Of course, they would have, like, huge appeal in Asia because it's, like, finally people who look sort of like us. Although I do think a lot of Korean beauty standards are, like, based around whiteness. But
well, some of the Korean beauty standards are based around whiteness for sure, because, like, the blonde hair and everything. But a lot of Korean beauty standards, and Koreans are not gonna like to hear this, are based on Chinese beauty standards. They're based because Chinese media was, like, the first media to kind of, like, get it big over there. So a lot of their beauty standards are based on, like, Kim Tae-hee is famous for being so beautiful because she looks like a traditional, like, 90s Chinese actress. That's kind of how they base their beauty standards off of, because the traditional Korean face is pretty different from the Chinese media face. And yet Korean beauty standards are more aligned with old Chinese, still Chinese beauty standards. It's very interesting that way because they fucking hate the Chinese. They hate them. They're like, because they have good reason to hate them. They have good reason to hate them. They have good reason.
There's a history of animosity.
Yeah. I would say imperialism, animosity, whatever you want to say. Oppression, some annoyances, you know, it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of
a rivalry.
It's a bit of a rivalry. Yes, for sure. But you just like Black people also base a lot of our beauty standards off of white people who oppressed us.
Right, of course.
That's just how it works. That's how beauty standards work, you know?
Yeah. That happens all the time.
Yep. You're gonna base your beauty standards off of the ruling class.
Right.
Even if you fucking hate them motherfuckers. Like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Imperialism is bad, but, you know, thin women are great.
There you go. Hit and tail. That's never bad.
Yeah. Okay, this is gonna be a really weird question. I know one K-pop song really well, and I don't know. I have no context for like how popular this group was.
Tell me.
Okay, so like, because I worked in India for a while, and there were these people from the Philippines who did a dance. They were trying to teach sex education, and they were using the song by the Wonder Girls, Nobody But You, to like offer like yes. Okay.
That's a terrible what about monogamy that was supposed to be? Oh, Jesus. Okay, sure. Sure.
That's like one of the options to like prevent STIs. It was very weird that we were doing it.
Okay.
But that song is a bop, I will say.
That song is absolutely. Also, I saw the Wonder Girls live. They are amazing live.
Okay.
Oh my God, what a classic group.
So I was just wondering if they were like a big deal, or if they just randomly.
If the Wonder Girls were a big deal, yes, bitch. The Wonder Girls were a huge deal. The Wonder Girls were the first like girl group before Sonia Shide really hit it really big. Like Wonder Girls were the fucking group. Nobody was like nobody was a crossover hit. Nobody was like, they made an English version. It wasn't good, but they made it. They did make it. And like that dance was huge. And they have, Wonder Girls was a hit and Nobody is a bop. They have better songs, but Nobody is a bop. Yeah. I want nobody but you. I want nobody but you. They were using this to teach sex education. Okay, go ahead. Go off.
Yes, they were.
When was this? It was like 2008, 2009?
2010. Yeah.
2010. All right. So for like 2 years after the song came out, they were using it too.
I mean, I don't know for listeners, because I grew up in Europe, but when I was living in India, that was the first time where pop culture wasn't like American, because Europe, like all of it, like, I mean, they have Dutch television shows. I want to say that, but like the primary culture was like, it was still like Friends, like the music you listen to on the radio, like they'd like throw in a Dutch song every once in a while, but it was all like American. And then you get to India and it's just like all Bollywood, all Bhangra. And then every once in a while, I don't know why he was like the one American to crack through, but Akon would occasionally like.
That is not what I thought you were going to say. Okay. Work, Akon.
The radio edits. I want to be clear.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what. And then like K-pop. And how do you feel about, I'm now realizing I might be getting the details wrong, but people claim that Ariana Grande steals from like, I think it's more J-pop than K-pop, or is it also?
She steals from K-pop. She totally steals from K-pop. Yeah, but work. I don't have a problem with that.
Right. K-pop
steals from R&B, and Ariana Grande stole being Latina. So why can't you steal from K-pop? I think more fucking artists need to steal from K-pop. I think more artists, and Ariana Grande steals a little from K-pop, but like she's not giving you choreography. She's not giving you choreography like that. It's stealing a little bit, which I appreciate. I think everybody should steal from K-pop. Everybody should steal from K-pop. I wish more artists would steal from K-pop because I might actually enjoy the music that comes out.
Okay, this is a call out. Steal more from K-pop.
Yes, steal it.
I mean, that is the thing about like, I feel like we use the word cultural appropriation for like 3 different things.
Cultural appropriation isn't always bad. Yeah. Sometimes it's funny to see a white girl in cornrows. Like their scalp gets all sunburned. It's fucking hilarious. It brightens my day. Sometimes cultural appropriation is good. Their hair be pulling. That shit is hilarious. That is hilarious. It kind of lifts me out of my oppression just a little bit. It's not always bad.
I just remember when the Kardashians kept being like, it's like Bo Derek.
That is the bad part about cultural appropriation. Yeah. You don't credit it to the right people with like the boxer braids thing, braids, like what? And Bo Derek, like, yeah, that's where we got it from. That's where we got braids from. Bo Derek. Okay, sis, Get the fuck out of here. Like, that, as long as you credit it, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I feel like K-pop, for sure, credits their R&B influences. In fact, a lot of the old school R&B producers that like can't get a fucking job over here, they go to Korea and they make great music. Like Teddy Riley's over there making like Black Swan shit, like a bunch of like old school Omarion and Mario, all of them, they go over there, they get treated like gods over there because that is where they got their influences from. They respect the culture. They don't really like Black people, but they respect the culture. They respect our contributions to the culture. They will talk dog shit about you in Korean right next to you like you don't understand, but they do respect the culture. I'm gonna get some hate comments over this one. I don't care.
It seems like K-pop is less important than it was to you.
Thank God. Yes. I had to, at some point, I had to unwrap because it was getting to the point where like I was spending my entire paycheck, my grown ass paycheck on K-pop shit. Like me and my homegirl Kat, we were going to LA to go see 2PM. We missed our flight because I was stuck in security because my name is Sheria. And we spent $300 on a taxi to Logan Airport in Boston from New York to go take a plane to go to LA to spend all our money on fucking K-pop bullshit. And it was great. It was one of the greatest memories of my life. But it was like, Sharia, you gotta be grown. Like, you gotta be a little bit grown. I did slip back into it during the pandemic because K-pop heals you when you're going through some shit. When shit is hard, K-pop is like the one thing for me that gets me energized. So I've learned to utilize it for adulthood.
I like that. I do feel like it is sort of like if you were going to create like music that makes people happy in like a lab, that is basically what they have done.
Yes, that is what they've done. And music and visuals and everything to make people energized and happy and da-da-da-da. And then their ballads, you can cry to them shits. They have perfected it. They've perfected it. I'm sorry. They've perfected it.
Okay.
Bow down.
Bow down to your K-pop overlords.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we'll end it there. Where can people find you, Sheria?
Oh, find me on Twitter at Sheria Did That. Find me on Instagram at Sheria Mattis Comedy. I will be updating that soon. Find me on YouTube also, Sheria Mattis Comedy. I have this little series called Black Girl Feelings that comes out every once in a while. And, you know, I'll be doing stuff. Stuff is coming up on the horizon, so look out for it. Big stuff coming. Things coming. Yeah.
Yeah, you can obviously tell that Sheria is very funny and you should watch her live if you ever get the chance.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been great. Like,
thank you, Arielle. Thank you. This has been great. I love talking about K-pop. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really great. And if you like the podcast, please subscribe or follow it on your favorite podcasting app. Different apps use different terminology now. That's fun.